Hello everyone, this is Ken Quigley from Keystroke, and today we are doing a demonstration on Keystroke Designer, formerly Topline Designer. We recently acquired all three of Topline Results add-on products. We're really excited about it. Keystroke Designer in particular was really the flagship custom table product. So we're very proud to add this to our stable of products. Lots of updating to do, and we do invite you to check out our blog to review. If you can just pull up the website there, Lubs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just click the blog, please. Right there. Now we do have a number of articles. I'm just going to, the very top one, we don't need to drill down. Let me just mute someone here. Okay, so you can see here the top article is about the online upgrade server. What, as part of the sale, what happened was that the old Topline registration server was disabled and permanently disabled. So anyone that tries to reinstall their products, it's not going to work because it's going to call home and there won't be anyone to answer. So we have recompiled all three of the programs to work with our system, and this particular blog here will show you how you can take your license key and redeem it for a new Keystroke license at the upgrade cost of 30% off. Okay. So, and we've got more updates to come. And then you could see down here at the bottom here, roadmap for top line products. This is something that I wrote just to kind of share with everyone, you know, where we plan on taking the products. And if you just want to scroll down a little bit further, Lubs, a little further, almost there. Okay, and here's the article on the actual acquisition. Okay, so just describe some of the details, some of our support policies relating to it. You know, the long and the short of it is that if you're working with the previous compiled versions, Topline Designer, Topline Dash, Topline Alerts, those programs could no longer be activated. They could no longer be reinstalled, so we can't really support them. So our policy has been that, you know, we're only supporting our versions that we've recompiled and moving forward with. Most of them are for, I would say, 99% identical to the previous versions for now, and we are looking forward to implementing substantial updates over time. Okay, and just one last quick thing, if you can go to the homepage, Lubs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to show you where the recording of this will be. Now here's our little splash page talking about the, just hit refresh. Okay, here's a little splash page. You can see the upgrade now. This will take you to the upgrade page. And then just click on pass that, please, Lubs. Okay, and then scroll down. And then right at the bottom, it says Keystroke training videos. And scroll down a little bit, please. And then right in the middle there, Keystroke product videos. So you can see here, Keystroke Dash, this was the one that we presented last Thursday. And by tomorrow, we'll have the Keystroke Designer from today's event. Okay, so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Lubs.
Lubs, before you get started, everybody, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And if possible, post them for everybody. So as Ken or myself or Michael puts responses, everybody can see the responses and the questions. So please use the chat and make sure you do for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Vic.
Take it away, Lubs.
Thanks, guys. Just want to make sure that you can see my X screen now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Okay, so today as Ken said, we're going to go over Keystroke Designer. Pardon me if I might slip and say Topline Designer, because that's what we've been saying for a long time now. But it is Designer. It's the same product. You'll see just some different screens in here as we move along. But for those of you that have used Designer in the past, for right now, it's pretty much the same. We will be, modifying some things as we move on. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen it, this is going to be a great session because we're going to be able to show you how to use it, how to create tables, and how to modify data and manipulate data once it's in your database. Okay, so just a little background on what Designer actually is for those sort of newbies here. It's a product that allows you to manage your custom tables within ACT. Okay, so when you have the one-to-many relationships, the one being the contact, the many being whatever, insurance policies, events, healthcare policies, things of that nature. That would be the many. That's where custom tables would come into play into your database. Okay. So I've created a couple already, but before getting into the actual data and showing you how the data works, what I want to show you how to do is how to actually create the tables and how to create fields within custom tables. So to do any of that, it's going to be found under your Tools menu in Act. And once Designer is installed, you'll have a new option here, which is Define Custom Tables. We select that, and it's going to open up our Designer Define Fields box. Very similar to the Act Define Fields box if you've used that before. Just a little bit different, but we try to be as familiar as possible so that everything sort of flows nicely. And it's going to list any of the tables that you currently have created in this little drop down here. Okay, I have a little demo database here, that's why I have a lot of tables. You may only have one, you may have two, three. Every company may have a different number here. I'm not going to actually create a table here just because that's probably the longest part of the process. It may take up to 5 minutes to actually create a table, because when you create a table, it's got to create a lot of things in the background. First, obviously, the table, and then it does create some default fields with it as well. So that process takes a little while, and I don't want to take up our time. But basically, what you would do to create a table, I'll just walk through the beginning process. Over here on the left-hand side under Table Task, you would click Add Table. And it's just going to let you know, hey, welcome to the table wizard. Follow along here. Next. You give it a name. Okay. You can include an image here, and the image size must be 32 by 32. And what that image will do is if you look along the left-hand side here on the nav bar, you can see the little images next to the 4 custom tables I have already. So basically, it's just a little image or logo for that particular custom table. You indicate which entities the table should link to. Contact, company, group, opportunity. By default, they're all checked. If you know you're only going to use it for contact, you can uncheck the other 3. If you're not sure, then leave them all checked. Next. This is going to let you choose what layout is going to be shown on. So even though you may link it to a group or opportunity, you may not want it on that particular tab or on that entity to show it, because you only want it there because for linking purposes or reporting purposes. You don't want people to actually go in there and enter data that way. And this is where you would hide or show the actual layout tabs themselves. If you want it to show up on the lookup menu, you would leave that checked as yes, and that's going to show up on your Act lookup menu. And then finally, if you want to show over here on the nav bar, it's called the view menu here. That would be where you choose that option. And then that's it. Once again, I'm not going to click finish here because that would take a little while to create. I'm going to click close here and show you a table that I just created prior to class today. Let's go down here to Insurance New. Okay. And so here's a brand new table, and I didn't add any new fields yet. So I wanted to show you what sort of happens when you create a new table. So all these fields here, as I mentioned, get created automatically by default. Okay. So those get created, and whenever you create a new table, that's why the process takes a little on there. Okay. And then once you have the table in here, now we can create our other fields that we want to go along with that table. So add fields, and over here on the left-hand side, there's an option Field Task. Click Add Field. And we get a field, let's say we want to do renewal date. It's always a popular one for insurance policies. And then under Field Type, many of these are similar to what you're going to see if you do the normal Act contact create fields. There are a couple differences, and we'll actually create 1 or 2 fields here that are different than what you would see in the Act field. But in this case, we're just going to create a date field. Customize field behavior, so you can make it a required field. If you uncheck this allow blank, it's then a required field. You can also make it a history generating field if you wanted to. And then once you're set, you hit finish. And it creates that field. And I'm going to add a couple more. Let's do policy number. Leave that as a character field. And when you have a character field, you have a couple more options here. You can use a drop-down list. Okay, so you can choose from your drop-down list there, or you can click the Manage drop-downs, and then that would go to your drop-down creator to create a new drop-down if you needed to. We're going to skip that part. You can have a default value in that field, and then you can also choose the field length for the character field as well. And let me just add one more for the sake of brevity. And let's see, insurance number. In this one, I'm going to use what's called a lookup field here. So what I can actually do is pull data from another custom table. Now, it doesn't mean that it's a parent-child relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just pulling data from another custom table because you may have it there. For example, we have a table called healthcare, and that's where the master insurance number is at. So I'm going to pull the data from there, and I'll show you how that works once you put it on the actual layout here. But we choose lookup as far as the field type. And then next, this is where we choose the table we want to look in. So we're going to choose healthcare. And then the field we're going to choose is insurance policy number. And finish. Okay. So similar to the ACT, contact and company tables, when you create fields, they don't automatically just go on a layout by themselves. You have to create the fields first, and then once the fields are created, you then create the layouts in the company and contact. Similar here, we created the fields, and now we're going to create the layouts. In Designer, they're called screens. Okay, so where you see design screens, that's similar to designing a layout in the contact layout. So we click Design Screens.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to design screens. It automatically creates sort of a default screen for you here. You can add additional screens because maybe different people in your organization might use different screens, different data within that screen. But while we're here, we're going to, and this is, you can just add an additional screen if you want to here. We're going to actually design this screen. So we're going to click Design Screen. And it sort of gives you just a sort of a blank palette, okay, to work with here. And where are my fields at? They're hidden somewhere. Hold on. Close this. I should have a field box open. I think it's just hidden behind my go to meeting here. Hold on 1 second, please. Let's go ahead and try that one more time. Two. Okay, something must be happening with GoToMeeting and it's blocking that screen from my view, unfortunately. Let's see if I minimize ACT and get on the screen here if I can move it. I found it. Okay, here we go. I found it. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. It was the GoToMeeting was hiding this. Okay. So we have these fields over here. Okay, and this is the fields that we can put into our insurance table, our insurance screen. And we simply go over here to the fields menu, and we just drag and drop them over onto that page. I want to put in the policy number, insurance group insurance number, put the great date, who the contact is, company. It's just a matter of dragging and dropping these over there. Okay. Now, if I wanted a multi-column setup, I could change that. There's a little pencil icon here. Okay. So I can actually change the name of that section if I wanted to. I can show it the label if I want to. I can make the width greater or less than, and then I can make it how many columns I want to have on that particular section. So let's say I'm going to make this one 2 columns. Close, and then I'll just drag these over here instead. Okay. If I wanted to add a second section, I can add another section here. And then add more fields here. Now, as you notice here, each section has its own property. So this section here is only one column, where this one on top is 2 columns. So each section you can separate, or you can have individual properties on those particular sections. You could even have an additional tab. So these sections are here. If I click on a tab here down the lower left, add a tab. I'll show you what that does. Let's leave it on new tab.
Lubs, let me know when I can intervene with some questions.
Sure. Yeah. Once I finish this, we can.
Okay.
So with the new tabs, there's a main tab on every section, on every screen, and then there's a new tab. And what you can do is, with the tabs, you can sort of minimize things, just like that. Okay. So if you have, let's say you had 100 fields, we have some customers that have that many fields in a custom table, but they may not want to see all the fields, or depending on who you are in the organization, certain people don't even need to worry about certain sections, so they're not even entering data in there. So they may always have a certain tab closed or minimized, I should say, so just so they can see what they need to focus on. So that's why you would have the tabs there. Okay. A couple other things you can do here, and then we'll get to questions. Down here in the properties button, that allows you to make this a certain color. First, it allows you to change the title, and that's what's going to be up here when that box opens. Okay, so if I wanted to change this to insurance policy, and then maybe the background color, I want it to be blue instead. Okay. Now it's going to have that blue color. And then finally, you could do scripting. Okay, for any of you people that are into coding, this is where you would enter some of the scripting. So you can do it when a field changes, when the before or after the if it's loading, once it loads the item, or when it closes the item. So this is where you would do any of the scripting that you'd want to do for the custom table itself. I'm going to click OK to save my changes. And then, okay, yeah, go ahead, Ken. We're going to stop you.
Okay, so a couple of things. So Francois was curious about the difference between the custom tables offered by SwiftPage, which we make, and it's basically the same as our product, tables for Act and for Designer. Now, you can certainly answer this, but I'll just tell you that custom table support was introduced in Act with Service Pack 2 in 2008, and so the raw table structure is similar amongst all the products. There's about 4 or 5 custom tables products out there. The difference is the management tools for each of them, and the designer, like what Lubs just showed you, which is the actual layout tools. Other than that, if you took a designer database and you opened it with, let's say, tables for Act, all you'd have to do is create a new layout. All the table structure would open it up. And in fact, you'd know that because if you looked at the fields in list view, you would see all the data. Okay, it's just the single detailed view layout that you would need to reconstruct based on whatever new custom tables manager you're using. Now, you were asking questions about the hosting of it. Some hosting providers will provide support for top line, and some will, and almost all of them provide support for tables or Swift page. Francois, I asked you to email me offline because you've got more detailed questions. I'm not 100% certain on all the history with that, but I just wanted to explain that the table structure itself is the same. Okay, and then let's see here. We had questions about.
Let me interject there, Ken. Just one thing. If you do have any kind of scripting or any kind of custom programming built into designer tables, that may not work with the table, so you may need to revisit that. It may just need to be changed or altered because the scripting is built a little bit differently. So that's one thing to be concerned about with the if you're going from designer to tables. So just want to
perfect, and that's actually, that was Kelly's question, because she wanted to know if we offered, because Topline used to offer VB scripting services for a lot of the resellers and for the end users. We do have a lot of people that can provide that. In fact, we used to be designer customers. Okay, so we had tons of scripting ourselves. We also have, as part of the Keystroke Partner Program, a lot of people that do that as well. So whether it was an internal staff or one of our partners, we certainly offer that. One of the important distinctions is that Designer is written in Visual Basic and supports Visual VB scripting, whereas Tables is written in C# and supports C# scripting. So very, very different languages. A lot of people, a lot of the consultants are more familiar with VB scripting. It's a little older, a little bit more straightforward. So I guess that's what's behind Kelly's question, but we could certainly assist with that. Okay, let me just go. Okay, now one of the last questions was APFW, which stands for Act Premium for Web. We are not moving forward with designer support for Act Premium for Web. And the reason for that is Designer has always been a perpetual purchase product. Okay, whereas if you look at the other programs out there, Tables, Impact, and such, all of those are subscription products, which means that we have the ability to keep investing for compatibility purposes. We all know the problems that Google has provided Act over the years with updates and breaking features. If there's a subscription model in place, then we have the resources to continuously update it and make sure that people have an ongoing proper experience. But as a perpetual product, that is really something more suitable for the desktop. So that's where we're going to be really pushing Designer as an option for desktop customers, off-plan premium customers, pro customers. We are not going to be supporting it in the web anymore. If people want to have web access to the tables, then we're obviously going to encourage them to go with Tables or custom tables offered through Swift page, because those are the programs that are constantly going to be updated to support the changing environment. Okay, go ahead.
Good. Okay, so we created that table, Insurance 2, and we created a couple fields and designed the layout. So now when I go to my contact screen, I'm going to see it here as a new tab, and I'll just see a couple fields here. So I want to change, or I want to add columns for those new fields. So there's a button here, Customize Columns. There we go. And then I'm going to just add the fields that I want to view on there. And I can drag them up or down, depending on where I want to put them in that list. And as you see here, you can also add other fields from other entities. So opportunity fields, company fields, group fields, contact fields, and then also group insurance fields, okay, based upon that that field, because we did that lookup field. So we can also put the fields coming from that healthcare table that's related here. Let's just put a couple there. Hit OK. And then to add a new item, we click the Add button, and then we're going to see that blue screen that we had created. Okay. Some of the data, as you see, already gets populated. But here's that lookup field I was mentioning, that group insurance number. We click the little search button. It looks up any health cares related to Van Johnson, shows them here. Double click that one. it automatically throws in that number there of that what was in that field. Then these other fields are, we can type in whatever we need to. Okay. And then just going over these icons along this toolbar here. So we already covered that's the add button, allow you to add new items. The delete button will be grayed out unless you highlight something, then it'll let you delete it. That follows the delete permissions of the ACT database. So if you are a standard user without delete rights, that will be always grayed out then, okay? So you won't be able to delete anything if that's the case there. Customize columns, export to Excel, I'll export that to Excel. Word, which we'll get to in a second here. We'll actually revisit that with another in a little bit because we have some data. I have a couple templates I've already created for you to show you what that will do. That'll allow you to basically merge to Word or email, or then also allow you to create and edit templates. The print option, it's going to print out basically how you see it there, which, similar to like if you did the file print screen in ACT, or like the task list, I think you print there, or contact list. It's not going to be the best viewing thing there. So if you really wanted to print something like this out, I would suggest either merging it to Word or exporting to Excel, and then you can manipulate it there so that when you print it out, it looks proper. Here is the group icon. So we can, if I wanted to group by things, now with only one thing there, it's not really going to make much sense. But once you had a bunch of items in there, you can group by things and then see the particular items within that particular group. We're going to go to another table here in a second, and we'll actually use that and show you how that actually works. Okay. All right. So that's that for the insurance too. I'm going to go back to another tab I had in here called insurance, where we actually had a lot more data in there. So we're going to show you how to manipulate data and how to work with a lot of data once you have the data in your custom table. So along the left-hand side here, I'm going to go to insurance, and it's going to show you this. This is basically the list view of all the insurance policies in the database. So down here, it's going to show you down here 40, records 40, okay? And one thing, a common question is how do I get these grid lines on here, okay? So to do that, it's a little tricky because it's not part of really Designer itself. It's written into the preferences for your history tab. So if you go to Tools, Preferences, and then Colors and Fonts, you want to make sure the History tab, you want to make sure that's checked for Show Grid Lines. Okay, once you check that, you'll have to restart ACT for the change to take place, and then you'll be able to see the grid lines in your Designer views. Okay. All right, so once we're looking at this data, this is where we can let's show you how we did the group thing since we were just talking about that. So I'm going to click the group button, and let's say I'm going to group it by the insurance, or I'm sorry, by the contact. So I drag the contact up here, then I can see how many insurance policies each person has. It tells you the number right next to their name. And if I hit the little plus sign next to their name, it'll show you it'll expand that. Okay. If I don't want to group, I can just close that group. Okay. And you can do that with any field. Okay. Other things you can do here, you can sort. So if you want to sort by a particular field, you click on the column heading. And similar to most lists using ACT, you'll see the little arrow either pointing up or down, depending on when you clicked it to sort by that particular field. You can also filter on a particular field. So if I want to see certain dates, if I only want to see one particular date, I can click on it from the list. Or I can go to all blanks, non-blanks, or I can choose custom, and it's going to open up like a little custom filter here. And I can say for the operator greater than, and let's just say greater than May 1st. Click OK. And it just gives me those that are greater than that. Okay. Any fields that are numbers or currency fields, I can sum those, and I'll get the little symbol here to sum that, similar to like you have it in Excel. So I would click that, and then you have the options here. So if I want to do an average and a sum, click OK. Then down here, it gives me those numbers. Okay. And I have all the other icons here too, so I can export this whole list to Excel. I can change my columns, add in, or delete from here as well. Okay.
Lubs, have you shown how these
Yeah.
tables connect to all the different ACT tables, like contact, company, groups, and opportunities?
Yeah, when we first create a table.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I can jump in
Is that what you're talking
here,
about? Yeah.
because Kelly has asked a really good point. I know, it's surprising. She asked a really good point because there was a thread on a Facebook ACC group the other day about how some people thought that with version Act 22, it supported the dynamic grouping of custom tables. And some people thought some products were compatible and others weren't. The truth is, as we discovered, is that it's not that Designer doesn't work and the Tables for ACT does or Impact doesn't. It's depending on the tables that the custom tables are connected to. Okay, so for instance, when Tables for ACT or Swift Page Tables creates a new table, it by default links to the contact and the companies. Okay, and doesn't those other checkboxes are cleared by default. Some of the other products like Designer, like Impact, they actually select all the tables. The problem with the dynamic groups, which is a really, really powerful feature in version 22 and version 23, is it only recognizes tables that are connected to contacts and companies. The reason that we knew it wasn't related to just our products being good is because, like I said at the beginning, we used to use Designer, so all of our tables were created with Designer. Okay, so once we did some testing, we found out that all of the products work with dynamic groups in Act 22 and 23, but you have to make sure that they're only connected to contacts and companies. So hopefully that answers your question, Kelly.
And this is where that's what Ken's talking about when we created that table where it says ACT linked entities. So as Ken mentioned, if you want to have those showing up in those groups, you want to make sure that they're linked to contact and company. The nice thing is here when you're creating the table, if you forget to even do anything here, they're already all checked, so you don't have to worry about making that. As long as you don't change it to not have it, then you should be good to go there.
Yeah, and Steve asked a question, a commercial question about like how is this product licensed? And the way it's licensed is by activation. Okay, so whatever computer needs access to it, then you just install the Designer on that computer, and that activation would require a license. Where it gets confusing is that their previous web licensing was based on per user. But since we're not going forward with that, the licensing for both Dash, Designer, and Alerts will all be based on per activation. Thanks, Dave, for that question. Go ahead, Lubs.
Yep. All right. Close this filter. And to get back to your full list, you can see any of these filters if they have something. They have like I'm not sure if you can see it with the GoToMeeting, but it's the blue. The filter's like blue, it's colored in. The ones that don't have anything are sort of like blank or transparent. So to get that back to all, click that button, select all. It gives me my full list of items. So let me go to a contact here. And I can before I go to the contact, actually, I can open up the items from here. I just double click anywhere that's not linked. Okay, if I click anywhere that's linked, it's going to take me to that particular section. So contact will take me to contact, company will company, and then also certain things you can link to activities and or opportunities as well. So if you were to click there, it would take you right to that particular entity item. But if you just wanted to open up the custom table item, you would click anywhere on the item that's not linked. Okay, so right here. And then it opens that up. Okay. Then let me go back to the contact. Go to insurance. This is one thing that I've noticed too. If you do create tables in that, Sometimes what it'll do is it'll double up your tabs here. As you see here, we have 3 marketing automations and 3 timelines and things like that. Anytime you do create a custom table or modify the layout, it seems to do that. So all you need to do to repair that is just close that and reopen it, and it will take care of that issue for you. So if that happens on your end, it's an easy fix. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create and edit templates now. So I'm going to go to the insurance tab. I'm going to right click on an item, select right, and then edit a template. I've already created a couple here. And we'll just do this one in individual policy, insurance policies individual. Over here. So it opens up in Word, and it opens up this little field. This is the merge fields thing here. Okay, so I put a logo in here, hi, contact first name, below your policy information, and then I have these headings, and I put in the fields from the custom table. Okay, so if I wanted to add another one here, put in the status, and I can fold that. Okay, and then once I've made my changes that I want and I'm ready to go, I can click the save button here. Gives me a message. Do you want to update the existing file? You would hit yes if you do. If you want to say this as a different name, you would click no, and then it opens up a window to give it a new name and save it as something else. So I'm just going to overwrite the existing one. And I've noticed whenever I do that, it sort of minimizes ACT a little bit, so you just have to maximize that to get the full screen back. And now if I want to merge this particular item, do a right click, right, and I can merge to Word or I can email it. I have an option there. I'm just going to merge it to Word. Like that template. And then there's that Word file. Okay.
And that merges to email, correct, Lubs?
Yep. Actually,
Well.
I emailed a couple earlier today. And actually, when you go to close the Word, you'll get an option to record the history. So if you want to record it, you can give it a file name and whatever the regarding you want there for that as well.
The nice thing is you could also do a number at the same time as well. So from list view, you can actually complete a mail merge by selecting a number of them and then merging it.
That is correct. So here's the email that I sent earlier today. It just gives basically the body of the Word file in the email and merges those fields together as well. The thing is with email, here's a little tricky thing with email, okay, or a little thing to know. If you do want to email somebody these templates, here's what you need to do when editing the template. What you have to do is include the email field of that contact that you're emailing to, okay? So you'd have to go to the contact field or contact table, and then email. Add it down here. But you don't want to leave it like that unless you want them to see their email address there. So to hide it, you highlight it, right click, select font, and then choose hidden. Then that will hide it so that they don't see it when they get the email. Okay. So you need to have that on there because watch out, here's what happens. Let's close this down.
That's a good tip, Lubs.
Thank you. When you go to do the merge for an email, then email merge, choose your template. Takes you to a little wizard here. So here's where you have to choose the field that you're going to email. Okay. Now the nice thing about this is that you can email not their primary address. So if you're emailing maybe their assistant or something or a personal email address, you can include those on that particular template, and then it'll email to that specific email and not their main one. Okay. So choose that email, and then you type your subject. And then once you hit finish, it doesn't, even if though it's a single email and some mergers enact, when you do a single email, it opens up and lets you modify it all. Here it just goes right out. So as soon as you hit finish, that email is going to get sent, and it'll be sent out. Okay. Here, I'll just open it up. Here it is. Okay. All right. And as Ken said, if I wanted to do multiple ones, I can either do it, here for multiple ones from this list, or if I go to the master list over here, highlight how many ever I want, right click, send email merge, and then it's going to send those, I think there's 12 or so highlighted there. It'll send them all out as individual emails to each particular contact. Okay. Now let me go back to that contact. So with this, here's a nice feature where if somebody says, hey, can you give me a list of all my insurance policies? Okay, and maybe they don't want it in Excel format like that. They want to have it sort of looking like in a table in Word. You can do that in here. So instead of highlighting the actual item down here, because you want to have them all included, what you do is you go from the contact menu at the top. So you go to Write, Designer, Merge to Word. I create this other template here. Click OK. And now here's the list of that person's insurance policies. So if they had 20 of them, all 20 would be listed on this Word document here. Okay. It's just going to give you all those that they have listed on there for them. So let me show you how that is different, because that's a little different on the template. Let me close this up here. And you can edit these templates either down that way, you can edit it from here, or you can edit it from the menu up here. So you have a lot of options as far as editing templates. Okay. So let's do that one. So what you have to do is create a two-row table. And as far as the columns, it just depends on how many columns you want in your table. So it could be 1, it could be 30, okay? And then what you do is you're going to put in this designer. You can just type this in, actually. You don't need to choose it from the drop-down because you can't. You would type in designer dot the table name, whatever the custom table name is, in this case insurance, and then dot, and then the field name, okay? So just as you see here, designer.insurance, it has insurance status. Designer.insurance, dollar amount, et cetera, et cetera. And you just add those all in there in the first row there. And then what we'll do is it'll automatically put the field name in there, as you saw, and then any data points below there when you do the merge. Okay, so it's real nice to get them a nice little thing that just shows them all their insurance policies, support plans, service tickets, whatever that custom table is. You're able to get that out to them very nice and easily. Okay. A couple other things I want to show you here before we get to some questions. I'm going to go back to my global list here. If I need to manipulate data, maybe change some things. For example, let's say all these, I'm going to look at this expiration date here, and anything that's going to be coming up, maybe I need to change all these to July 1st, okay, so the date they're on. So I can highlight them, right click, go to replace field values. It's going to bring up a replace field box, and I have 3 options here. I can replace, which is going to replace that data that I choose in the field next. I can append, which will add to that field at the end of the current data, which for date field, you really can't do that anyway. You can do it for a character field, though. Or I can copy. So I can basically copy one field to another. So I'm going to choose replace. And this is what? Expiration date. And like I said, and for date, doesn't put the date drop down. You just have to type it in there. We'll make them all July 1st. Click OK. Once again, let you know it's going to perform on the selected records. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yes. And then now, as you see, it didn't change the data, did it? So what you have to do to see the new data or updated data, click the refresh button. And that refresh button's up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen here. It's like a little circle, little blue circle there. You click that, and then it refreshes that data. Now they all say July 1st. Okay. And that's pretty much what we set out to cover today in today's class. So I'd like to open the floor to any questions or ideas you guys might have.
There's nothing more in the questions that haven't been answered. So if there's any more, please put them in the chat.
Actually, I saw a question from Steve about needing one designer and then one dash for each user. So Steve, to answer that, you don't need dash to run designer, but it's a great utility to have as an add-on to it so that you can then report on all these custom tables. Okay, but it's not technically it's not needed to run designer. So just so you're aware of that clarification. But a lot of people have designer, they typically will get dash because the reports are so powerful and useful to do that.
All right, that's it for the questions.
Okay.
If there's nothing more, thank you very much, Michael, for the great presentation. And just a reminder, this will be online on our website where Michael showed you earlier in the presentation. So you can watch the video and also share it with other people. So with that, we will draw this to a close. Thank you very much, everyone. And if you have any questions, you can always email us. Lubs, what's the best email to?
Michael K at kqc.ca.
So Michael K at kqc.ca. All right, thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day.